Welcome back, everybody, to Fourth and Forever. It's been another great week waiting on Madden 17 to come out. But when good news is here, it's great news. And this is the last time you'll hear mine and my co-host RaiderRant's voice before you get your hands on Madden 17. Or at least for the most part, most of you guys that are jonesing to get that EA access next week. So without further ado, everybody's favorite RaiderRant guy himself, RaiderRant. Raider Red, how's it going today?
Man, it's not too bad. I'm not working anymore, so I can't complain.
I hear you. And we're one day closer to the weekend. Football is on tonight. I can't wait. Even though it's the Patriots, I'm sure we'll all watch and hate anyway. But tonight we're going to go over the NFC predictions. Last week we went over the AFC, and tonight it's going to be the NFC and maybe look at the Super Bowl prediction. And then we'll have everyone's favorite section of the show, the Raider Rant. So I'll go ahead and get started with Raiders division, the NFC East. This is one of the stacked conferences in the league, looking at users. And we're going to start out in the East, where I've got Raider down, running the Cowboys with an 84 overall. I'd say a pretty good rated offense at 89 and 83 for a defense. I'll say it's a little overrated, but what can you say? I'm glad they gave my team an 83. So, looking at the Cowboys this year, I think in the league they're going to run a 12-4. I think their schedule's pretty easy for them. Their conference or their division's weaker as we get deeper into it. I think the Raiders going to easily roll this division. His biggest challenge is up next, Z-Car and the Giants. They come in with an 80 overall and 83 both on offense and defense. But I just don't see the Giants being able to dethrone the Cowboys with what weapons the Cowboys have. I feel like the Giants, though, will run a 9-7. I think Z-Car is a good user. And looking at the other two guys in his division, I think he'll get 4 easy wins off them teams. I just don't see him having much competition other than Raider in this division. Moving on to the Eagles, ran by one of our newest members, Finley, who took over Woody's spot. Woody, sorry to see you go. Life gets in the way, we understand. But the Eagles come in with an 80 overall and 83 both on offense and defense. I think I read that right. But I just see that being an overrated team as well. They're all older, which is, it's great for season one, but looking down the road, just without having draft picks and having a lot of older players in your great positions, that's a tough position to be in for Finley. I don't see him doing very good in this league for season one. I think 4-12 is going to be my prediction for the Eagles in season one. And Rohan, who comes over from Hard at Work, is going to run the Redskins at 79 overall, 83 offense, 81 defense. I don't see the Redskins having as terrible of a year as the Eagles. I think they have a good offense. I think he's got some good weapons. I know he likes to use his tight end a lot. So we'll have to see how that pans out throughout the course of season one. But I'm actually going to give the Redskins a 6-10 record. I think he's going to pull out some wins somewhere. But I see the Redskins being a 6-10 team, maybe a 5-11 team. But overall, I think in the NFC East, the Cowboys win that division at 12-4. And go ahead and pass it over to you, Raider, with the NFC North.
Oh, you're going to let me skip my division entirely. That's fantastic.
Nobody wants to hear you brag about the Raiders and everyone else.
Before I move on, Z-Car's got, the Giants, I think they're rated fairly low on defense compared to the pieces that they purchased this offseason. I don't understand this overall ranking system, which I'm sure most people don't. So I don't see how 83 plus 83 divided by 2 or whatever, however you get an average. I don't see how that's an 80. But I think the Giants have a much better defense on paper than maybe a lot of other people do. I think their offense is going to be okay. Sterling Shepard, great addition. Victor Cruz, is he going to be back at? I haven't looked at his rating, but is he going to be back at enough? I think I saw Z-Car shop and Victor Cruz. So Sterling Shepard, Odell Beckham Jr., that's a great combo to have. The Eagles, their offense is really just an absolute nightmare. They don't have Shady anymore. they're stuck with Legatron, Sam Bradford, and they got the Chase Daniels kid, and they have Carson Wentz, which clearly Carson Wentz is going to be the starter, I would think, if you're even halfway intelligent. So you're stuck with two huge cap hits for guys you don't really need. I mean, one or the other. Maybe he'll be able to shop one of those guys out. But I think the Eagles, I think your prediction's pretty spot on. They're missing a lot of holes. Their defense is pretty stout, but they're also pretty weak in some areas. They got a lot of rebuilding to do and not enough pieces to do it season one. The Redskins, they're a team who I didn't think was that good last year, but everybody thought they were because they won the division. 79 overall seems a bit low for them too. Their defense, I mean, presumably got upgraded with Josh Norman, but we don't really know. So, I mean, I'm not going to talk about my Cowboys. Obviously, we've got some holes on defense. 83, I think, is quite a bit higher than my estimations for our defense. But then again, I mean, who am I to judge? I'm happy I got a good rating. I'm starting with a good roster. It's not as bad as I thought. Moving on to the NFC North. NFC North, we got, I mean, the cream of the crop in the NFC North team-wise is the Packers. But if I'm going to have to pick, man, the Vikings' stout defense, I'm calling that division is going to be won by you, Ibo, Hounds of Howl, Colton, whatever the fuck they want to call you. The Packers got a great offense, but there's a lot of question marks there. Randall Cobb, a down year. Jordy Nelson coming back off that ACL. Again, I haven't looked at the ratings, but, I mean, obviously there's some question marks. Aaron Rodgers had a down year. Now he's got Jordy back. I mean, can Husker right the ship? I mean, I think that he can. I just think that the Vikings have probably the best defense in that division, and then they've done a lot to upgrade their offense. So I'm calling the Vikings take it in a close second with the Packers. I'm talking like you guys will be won. That division will be won by maybe 1 or 2 games. I mean, and I could be totally wrong. It could be you or Husker, but I'm going to go with you because you're my homie and Husker's my homie, and I just want to see somebody else win the North for once. Green Bay's rocking like they're 85 overall, 89 offense, 85 D. I mean, pretty stout. You get down here, let's see. We got to scroll through here. We got the Vikings, 81 offense, 87 defense, 81 overall. I mean, like I said, that defense is stacked. Anthony Barr is a stud. Got a lot of studs along the defensive line. Great cornerbacks. I mean, you got all the makings of what you need to shut people down, and I think that sort of plays to your strengths. You've always been way better at defense than offense as far as I'm concerned, and that's huge. We got the Bears. I mean, that's a cellar-dwelling team, man. They got so much work to do. I feel bad for the user there. But that's what I got in the NFC North. I mean, the Bears just added Leonard Floyd, I think. So that should help with the pass rush, which has been pretty anemic, which is pretty much the active word for the Bears anyways. But, yeah, man, I definitely think you're going to take that division season one with the Vikings while Husker sorts out a few things with that team that needs a little work. He's got some age creeping up on him. I think maybe he'll make a few trades that might bump him out of season one contention, but I think Husker will be right back in the thick of things. I don't think he's out of the thick of things at all for season one. But what do you think about your division? I mean, touch on that lightly for us for a minute.
Yeah, I'll start from the bottom up. I've got the Bears listed at 3-13. I just don't know Tough Dog, and that's just an abysmal roster to try to win some games with. But hey, look, you might get the first round pick in the draft first year, so that's a positive there. The Lions, I got like 5-11. I think they've got a little bit of work to do, and Maz Nader's a pretty good user. I just don't see him getting over the hump in a tough schedule that the Lions have. I've actually got myself.
Calvin Johnson is huge.
Yeah, that's a huge hit. I mean, his weapons really depleted there. I mean, he's still got a few good offensive weapons, got a good tight end, good quarterback, but it's just a tough roster to run with. I've actually got myself sitting at second place in the division, sitting at 9-7. That's like an average for me, so I just threw out an average number. But I've got Husker actually going 11-5. I think he can win a few more games and wrap up that division. We've never played each other, so I don't know how it's going to work out. I can't tell that he's beat me before or I've beaten him, so I think it's going to come down to our user games, and whoever wins more of them wins that division. So, we'll move on over to the NFC South, which I think is one of the tougher divisions in the NFC to get in this year. You've got Moz with the Buccaneers, who are a 79, which 83 offense, 81 defense. I feel like Moz is a good enough user to run a team like that. I just don't. That's just a tough. I've seen his schedule. He's got it tough. I'm gonna actually give him a 6-10 record on the season. Sorry, Moz. K Person in the Saints. Don't know this guy, but he's gonna rock an 80 overall offense and or an 83 offense and a 79 defense with an 80 overall. I've got the Saints going 4-12, another team that's going to be down there at the bottom fighting over draft picks. I just don't see the Saints. Saints don't really have what it takes, I think, the season one at least, to win enough games to get in the playoffs. Moving on to the Panthers, who is the top rated team in the NFC with an 87 overall, 91 offense, and 87 defense, both top rated in their the 91 offense is top rated offense in the NFC. I think Ryan's got what it takes to make the playoffs. I just don't think he's got what it takes to win the division. I've got him listed at 10-6. I think just a few things are going to get in his way for season one of winning that division, and I think it's going to be the Falcons with greatness at 12-4. He's got a long ways to go with a 79 overall defense, but he's got an 89 overall offense. And anybody that can sit there and throw the ball down the field and keep an offense in the game, I think you've got a chance, especially with a user that's a veteran like greatness. What are your thoughts, Raider, on the NFC South?
Okay, well, I mean, obviously the NFC South has been greatness's division for a long time, and for good reason. He's always been able to take whatever you throw at him, put it all together, and come up with a winning formula. Starting with an 89 overall offense helmed by Julio Jones, who just absolutely crushed it last year. I mean, that's nothing to scoff at. I mean, you got Julio Jones, Matt Ryan, great enough to deliver the ball to him. Devontae Freeman broke out. That's going to be huge for greatness, be able to start the cycle with a running back instead of having to try to trade for one. So realistically, I mean, you could say greatness runs the table, but I think Ryan took a huge step from Madden 15 as the Packers to Madden 16 as the Rams. I mean, we're talking a huge step. He went from a guy struggling as the Packers to taking over the Rams and becoming a perennial playoff team in no time. Now you're giving him a roster as stacked as the Panthers. I mean, I think this year could be the year that Ryan puts it all together, and at least for season one, I think he's got an excellent chance, and he is my pick to come out of the South as the winner. The rest of the guys in that division was a K Person. I don't really know him, so it's really hard to make a call on that guy. But Moss, I really think Moss has all the makings on his team, and as a user, he's shown several times he can win the big game. It's really just a matter of, is Moss going to put in the work to be the perennial playoff contender that I think Moss could be? I think Moss could win the NFC South. He's very capable of doing it. Ryan's capable of doing it. Greatness capable of doing it. As far as I'm concerned, this is one of the two best conferences in the NFC we've got as far as users. It's just a matter of, does Moz want to win? I mean, we love Moz. He's a great guy. He's here to have fun, and that's fantastic. If he ever buckled down, I think Moz could run the division a couple of times. Ryan, if he gets a lucky break here or there with that stacked roster, he keeps playing up to his potential, he could win. Greatness can win, but season one, I'm calling the Panthers come out of that division. I hate that I can't really say much about the Saints because we don't know anything about K Person. But so I'm gonna say the Panthers, Ryan Rain finally wins that division, gets maybe splits the series with the Falcons, comes out on top season one. Moz, if he could get his head in it and decide he wants to be 100% serious, I think Moz could also win. So there's 3 guys out of 4 in that division that could win, and who knows, K-Person may be just as competitive. So that's going to be a dogfight. I don't think any of those guys are going to win more than 10 games, and it's going to come down to the last game in that division, but Ryan's going to float to the top. But we're going to move on to what I think is hands down. I say hands down. It's going to be just as competitive. We're going to go to the NFC West. The odds-on favorite, obviously, is Jordan. He's got the Cardinals, 91 offense, 81 defense. I think they're overrated on offense and way underrated on defense. 84 overall. I mean, the Cardinals are just stacked. Tyrann Mathieu, Pat Pete. Put those two guys in Jordan's hands. I mean, he's already been talking in the chat box about ways to get them involved more than just their natural position. So I think we're looking at, Jordan possibly, potentially. I mean, everybody's already calling for Super Bowl I to be the Cardinals for for awful one Super Bowl. But I got him winning the division. I think right up behind him, we're going to go, Van Wolfhawk, if he can live up to the hype. He's got a good roster to do it. 83 offense, 89 defense, but the Seahawks are really only held back by their offensive line. Let's get real. Jimmy Graham, Baldwin had a breakout season. Thomas Rawls, he turned out to be a steal. Russell Wilson is one of the best quarterbacks in the game. The Legion of Boom, really the Seahawks could float to the top and win that one. My long shot, I've got coming in third, but I really think Troy's already shown a propensity to make noise with a terrible roster. He had the Raiders, who were not that good in 15, and he turned them into a contender, turned around and did it again in 16. I think everybody's counting him out because he's got the 75 overall, 49ers, 75 offense, 79 defense. That team is absolutely gutted. Jim Harbaugh leaving that team, and all the other players, Patrick Willis retiring, I forget his name, but that linebacker they had that was promising, Chris Borland, he retired. But, Bowman came back and had a solid year. He showed he's a little weak in pass coverage, but he's still coming back trying to trust that knee. You go in, you draft DeForest Buckner, you put him on the line with Eric Armstead, who he played all these years in college with, other than the last one. I think Troy has the potential to put it together, but season one, I just don't see it. Maybe he'll shock me. Maybe he'll take these words and he'll make me eat them. And I would love to see it. I would love to see the 49ers float to the top. And then, of course, we got the Rams, and I'm a Penguin. I don't know anything about this guy, so it's really hard for me to say much. But, I got the number 1 overall pick, Jared Goff. I got Todd Gurley. They need some work on the offensive line. They need some weapons because, really all they got is Tavon Austin, and really what is he? So I got Jordan winning that division. I just think Troy has too much rebuilding to do, and Van Wolfhawk, I think, is going to prove to be more hype than substance. So I got Jordan running the table in that division. What do you got in the West?
Yeah, I'm pretty much right there with you. I've got Jordan winning the division at, honestly, at 15-1. I see a slip up in there, so he gets a little taste of a loss somewhere. I think Troy might be able to beat him once. I don't know. It's hard to run the table. I know a few people have done it in the past, but season one, it's just going to be a little tough. Everybody's getting used to the game. So unless Jordan comes out and he's like on spot with the game, we'll have to see how that works out. But I think second place in that division, I've actually got Troy at 11-5. I think Troy's a good enough user to come in and get a good win. He might finish 10-6, but I see him definitely coming in second place with a double-digit win record season one. Then after that, I've got Van Wolfhawk. Like you said, I think he's more hype than anything. He's coming off a 2-year break without playing in leagues. Personally, hands-on, I know how that goes. It's a bit of a learning curve when you take 2 years off just playing the computer and jump right back into user games. There's a lot of different aspects that go into it. I've got him sitting at 9-7. I don't think he's going to have a terrible record because I think anyone who feels like they're good enough and they've had good seasons in user leagues, I don't think they tank after taking a 2-year break, but I just don't see them being as good as they were. So, and like you said, I'm a Penguin. That's just a terrible roster. Don't know the guy. I'm honestly giving him a 4-12, another high round pick. So anybody out there listening to our streams, take hints on our predictions and maybe offer up some trades for people's first rounders that we say are going to tank, because who knows, they might pay off, especially people like Aku, who has 2 first-round picks. So, yeah, I really feel like that's about how this season's going to go. So, I don't know. I think, like you said, I think the NFC West is probably the toughest user division possibly. We'll have to see. AFC or NFC South has a pretty good dogfight in it too. But so we'll move on to the playoff predictions. So basically right now we pretty much almost have the same playoff predictions, a little different, but My seedings sit with the Cardinals and the Falcons, both having the bye rounds, and the Cowboys versus the Panthers and Packers and 49ers in the wild card. What do you have in the playoffs, Raider?
Okay, well, because of the way my division shook out, I've got Jordan and me in the top 2 seeds. I've got you as a 3 seed, Ryan as the 4, Greatness and Husker as wild cards. I think these will all be incredibly close, and they legitimately all could be, other than Jordan at the 1 seed. I think they could all be interchanged, but that's what I got written down because I'm just trying to do something a little different. It'd be stupid if we came on here and did a whole show where I said what everybody expected. So I got that. So yeah, Greatness and Husker are my wild cards. Ryan at 4, you at 3, me at 2, Jordan, the undisputed number 1. So that makes my wild card matchups being Greatness versus Ryan, I'm pretty sure, and Husker versus you. I've got you completing what I think is going to be a split in the division and staking your claim and advancing. I've also got Greatness getting his revenge for losing the division and advancing to the divisional round. What do you have for our wild card round?
Yeah, I think I've got Husker, or no, Husker. Yes, Husker losing to Troy to send Troy up to the top seed against Horton again. And then I've got you making the upset complete over the Panthers. I wouldn't really call it an upset with them being a wild card, but just looking at the roster comparisons, it'd be a pretty good upset. But I've got you going to play Greatness in the NFC divisionals. And I think you finally, in the NFC divisionals, get your first win against Greatness in the playoffs and move on to the NFC Championship to face Jordan, who beats Troy for the second time in the season to set up an NFC Championship. What do you got for the divisionals?
1 second. I'm answering RFF here. He's messaging me about a few things. Divisional round, I've got, obviously, with Greatness advancing and you advancing, I've got me and you matching up and Jordan and Greatness matching up. I've got Greatness continuing his grudge match from losing the division and beating Jordan to upset the preseason Super Bowl favorite Cardinals. And I've got me beating you, which could obviously go the other way. That's just me being a homer, but I've got myself advancing. Conference championship round ends up being me versus Greatness, and just because I've never beaten him, it's hard for me to come in here and say I'm going to beat him, so I've got Greatness advancing to the Super Bowl. What's your conference championship prediction?
I think I've got the Cardinals still running the table and upsetting, well, not upsetting, but beating you in the NFC Championship to set up RFF versus Jordan in Awful 1. Who do you have going to the Super Bowl to face the Texans?
Oh man, I've got Greatness versus the Texans, Falcons and the Texans for Awful 1, and I think it's way too early to call the Super Bowl, but my way too early prediction is RFF locks down Danny and and just does what RFF does. He's just hyper efficient. It's just really hard to pick against the Texans. They've got all that. They've got Will Fuller got his bump and speed, so he's got that speed to free up the slot. Greatness's defense just won't be able to keep up. I got RFF winning Super Bowl 1. That's me. What do you got?
I'm going to have to go out and say the Cardinals continue their dominance and find a way to win Super Bowl 1 in Awful. So we'll have to see how that plays out. Who knows? There could be people like Van Wolfhawk and K Person and Tough Dog and Finley. Who knows? This is a way too damn early prediction, but I think for the most part we're pretty spot on about predicting. So we'll have to see in November how this all shakes out and see who plays who in Super Bowl 1. So, but that's been our full predictions now on NFC AFC for Awful Season 1. So now we'll get to the good part, everybody's favorite part. It's been 5 weeks of just talking about how ratings and all this other junk, and we're about to get our hands on the game. I can't wait. So finally, we get a good Raider rant about something about the league. So, Raider, take it away and give us that rant.
All right. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the 6th edition of the RaiderRant. Today is a very special day. I finally get to rant about a topic affecting our league and not just bitching about random ratings and or nonsense. So the highly anticipated opening of the trade block has arrived, and it has been less than stellar. I'd go so far as to say it has been a fucking disaster. We were given rules that are not complete and under review until launch and expected to make deals in principle without complete knowledge of what the rules fucking are. So in classic Raider fashion, I'll give you all a wondrous tale. The story of happiness and sadness, mischief and evil. Our tale begins when you purchase your first home. You're excited, obviously, and even better, it comes with furniture. However, once you purchase the house, the 5 evil furniture wizards tell you what you can and can't do with the furniture, even the fucking light bulbs. So now you're handcuffed to some of the shitty furniture. You don't want that furniture because that chair just got here, and that chair has seniority or a multi-year contract, but fuck off, this is a story. Then one day, an evil furniture overlord decides to descend upon us poor homeowners and hand us an olive branch. You can appeal the furniture rules to the 5 wizards, he says. Nothing is set in stone yet, he said. Well, that's fantastic, we cry. Alas, the evilest of cocksuckers came down and crammed that olive branch right up that wizard's ass. So if you've listened this far, I'll drop the act. The trade guidelines, clearly unfinished. So why let us begin negotiating trades at all? It's like opening a candy store and telling everyone they can look at the candy, but don't you fucking dare try and buy any. My dreams were smashed like a fat kid on a diet. As always, this is your friendly neighborhood Raider Red saying, the Jets still fucking suck, and I'll see you guys next week.
Man, you couldn't have said it any better. I think you spoke for 27 of us in this league. And yes, AJ and the Jets, they still suck. And so do the Steelers and the fucking Arkansas Razorbacks. So, we've survived another week of hearing Raider rant, hearing my half-assed stories, and getting all the knowledge of awful Season 1. Like I said, this time next week, you'll probably be listening to us, and we're going to be bragging about how good EA Access is for you guys that don't go and pay the $5 to pick it up. So, if you're listening and you don't plan on getting EA Access, get the damn thing. It's $5. So, it's been another week of great talk about Madden, and I've enjoyed everything today, Raider. Until next week, we will be back, and this has been Fourth and Forever.